Hello travelers, Boardman21 here, and today's video is going to be on the Rogue. Yes, the Rogue has arrived, 0.8 has dropped, and we're going to start things off with a leveling guide. Alright, right off the bat you start out with a new skill called Flurry, and boy is it awesome. Now within the first few mobs that you kill, or at least for me, I got a bow drop, and you can instantly play it either as a melee or as a ranged skill, which is really awesome. Hybrid skills like this are going to be a lot of fun that change depending on what weapon that you are wearing. Alright, we've hit level 4, which means that we get to specialize our first skill, and we're going to go ahead and specialize Flurry, and we're going to put 1 point into the attack speed. We're going to continue along and get the channeling again, and then once we get the channeling, we're going to go past that and get the channel cost increased so that we can have multi-shot fired every 4th arrow that comes, which is going to help us have a lot more AoE with it. And once we get multi-shot, it does stack with its skill tree, and inside that skill tree you can get some pierce for it, and that pierce is really going to allow you to just do whole screen AoE and just absolutely annihilate everything. And we'll build into the damage. The damage will build up through the entire campaign, and then especially in endgame you can really get it to do some massive damage. Alright, for passives, we're going to again be putting points into Swift Assassin. We're going to put our first 8 points all into Swift Assassin for that attack speed and physical damage. Alright, let's get back into it. Alright, we are now level 9, which means we have opened up our second skill specialization slot, and we can now level up Shift. Shift, the first points that we're going to be doing is healing, and then moving into the mana gained on use. Now if you want, you can also go into velocity down to the momentum and then work your way into it. Either way works. The momentum and the velocity will give you more damage with your next skill used, but since we're going to be channeling Flurry, it actually won't affect channeled skills, and then it's just more points to go that route before you're starting to get your mana back for using it. So we're going to go ahead and put our 2 points into Shadow Recuperation first, then we'll move on to the mana, and eventually we'll work our way into getting the Acid Flask whenever we move. The other thing that we'll be unlocking is getting the Jade Arrows that will be doing way more damage. So we'll be going Shadow Recuperation and then working our way in the bottom right, and we'll be going straight across and getting the Jade Arrows that will give you much more damage with your bow attacks. For Flurry, we have 3 more points. We're going to go ahead and make it channeled. Now just 3 more points and we're going to already be getting multi-shot with it, which once we use it, and the moment that you get it, you'll see just how good it is, because you basically start out with, I believe it's 5 arrows that shoot out in an area in front of you and can hit 5 mobs. So it really helps because Flurry itself just has single target and doesn't pierce. Once you get multi-shot, even though it doesn't pierce, it hits more targets all at the same time, which allows your clear speed to just go through the roof. Alright, for passives, we've got 6 more points for passives. We're going to go ahead and put them all in Swift Assassin. And we're going to get back to it. Alright, we've gained a few more levels. We are now level 12, and with our skills we have 1 more point for Flurry, which we're going to put into Vise, and then we have 3 points for Shift, and we're going to go ahead and get into the Jade Arrows. And what the Jade Arrows do is whenever you shift, you get a stack of Jade Arrows. You get 1 per point that you put in, so we're going to go ahead and put 2 points in there. And that means for our next 2 attacks that you'll use a Jade Arrow, and it will give you a boost of several things. Right off the bat, it will give you increased critical strike chance and poison chance, but you can also get up to 75% critical multiplier with it, or you can get up to 125% increased damage over time if you're playing a dot build with your Eris. So for now, we're just going to get to the point where we get up to a couple of stacks because we shift quite often, and we're really going to go for that crit multiplier because we really want to be hitting as hard as possible, and we're really going to be building towards that 100% crit. For passives, we got 4 more points. Now we don't need to dual wield, so we're not going to put into Twin Blade, so really at this point our only options is either to put into Steady Hand or to put into Guile, which isn't horrible, and if you're really wanting to play a kite/dodge build, this is definitely going to help you because you can even get haste on hit chance, which is going to give you more speed. You can get increased damage per amount of speed that you have, and you can also get less damage taken while moving, up to 25%, so you can get a lot more dodge. However, this early in the game, we're going to go for the dex and the health because it just helps out so much during the campaign. And we're going to go ahead and put 4 points into that. We'll continue and get a 5th point there. before we end up moving on. We'll get a couple of points into the dodge and parry, and then what we really need is the 5 points in sapping strikes. We're going to need this the same time that we put our channeled flurry into multi-strike, because our mana will disappear so fast that we're going to have to use another skill that costs 0 mana so that we can get this up to 10 mana for every attack that we do with a 0 mana costing skill back, and that's going to allow us to fill our mana up really quick so that we can go back to channeling flurry. Alright, let's go ahead and get back into leveling. Alright, we are now level 16, and we have a couple more points for our skills. For flurry, we now have enough points to get into multi-strike. Now before we go into multi-strike, I just want to show you what it looks like before and after. So when you use this skill now, it fires that fast. It's single target, those arrows don't pierce, and you can see that our mana is going down about 5 at a time. But it kills rather quickly, it attacks fast, but it is again a single target that doesn't pierce at all. However, once we go into multi-strike, or multi-shot, now every 4th arrow in that will now cast multi-shot, and even though we haven't unlocked multi-shot yet, you don't get it until you're actually a marksman and put 5 points into the skill tree. You can still proc it, you just get the base attack of the skill, and now when we attack, you can see that we get 5 arrows that come flying out. But you can also tell our mana goes running down super fast, and that's why we have puncture on our thing, is it's a 0 costing skill, and this is what we'll use when we're out of mana until our mana comes back up. It's also going to help us with our points that we end up putting into sapping strike, so that you'll gain up to 10 mana per time that you use a skill that costs 0 mana. So every time we use puncture, we'll actually gain 10 mana. We also don't have very much mana at our level, we only have about 60, so you don't even have to shoot 3 or 4 shots before all of your mana is going to be filled back up between regen and the 10 mana per use. But you now have AoE with the flurry, and what's really nice is you can get a lot more shots out of multi-strike. We'll get into more details with it once we get to it, but you have the option to get 4 more extra projectiles inside of the skill tree. For passives up at the top of the marksman, you can get another 4 multi-shot arrows. There's a unique that gives you another 4 multi-shots. Idols give you more damage per multi-shot arrow that's fired. So you can see you can get 11, 12 arrows at least, and then you can get, you know, more percentage damage per one of those arrows. So when you get to 20 or 30% more damage per arrow, you're talking 300 to 400% more damage, and it starts hitting really hard at the high levels. And once we get to 100% crit with it, you're just going to absolutely annihilate things end game. But we're going to continue leveling as is. For our other skill, we have 2 more points to put into shift. We're going to put both of those points into the critical strike multiplier, so that we get our jade stacks, and then we'll hit a little bit harder when we do crit. You'll notice this a lot more once we again get our crit up to that, you know, 100% marker. And then for passives, we have 4 points. We're going to go ahead and put 1 point in guile, 1 point in evasion, and 1 point in agility, which will unlock the sapping strikes. And this is where our last 5 points will go, and then we'll start putting points in the marksman. We'll put the first 5 points in marksman just to get multi-shot, and then we'll go back to finishing out what we wanted from this skill tree. Alright, let's continue the grind. Alright, we are now level 19, and that means that we get to do a 3rd specialization slot, and we went with Cinder Strike. Cinder Strike is a skill that's kind of like Rive, except instead of its 3rd strike being the one that does the area, this one has it on its 1st attack. So you have 3 attacks. The first one creates a fiery explosion. The other 2 are just kind of, you know, attacks that it does, kind of like Rive, where the first 2 are just, you know, its normal attack, and then the 3rd one does a big area swipe that looks a lot like Shadow Cadence now, or Shadow Cascade. So for this, it's going to be our mana gainer for us. So what we're going to do is you get the mana gain through the passive tree, since it's a 0 mana costing skill, but on top of that you can get a bunch of additional fire damage for it, and you can go down here to oil coating. You get an oil coating every time you do a hit with it, and every time you do a hit while you have 5 stacks of oil coating, you get extra mana. You can get another 9 mana and 18 health gained from it. So technically after 5 hits, you can get up to 19 mana per hit with it, which means you'd be filling your mana back incredibly quickly. Now we don't need the oil coating too fast because we don't have enough mana to actually benefit from it, because within 5 hits we're already going to get 50 mana back from our passive, and between mana regen and this you'll already be full. So oil coating doesn't really do much for us yet, but it's something that we're definitely going to look into later. We're definitely going to start with the extra fire damage. So there's a little bit of base fire damage up top, and then we're going to put the 2 points in ignition just to make sure that it's already unlocked in case we do need oil coating. So 2 points there, and then 1 point in inferno. For shift, we have 1 more point. We're going to put it in the jagged arrows, and then for flurry we have 1 more point, and we're going to go ahead and start working our way up to the critical strike chance. And this is base critical strike chance, so that 6% is going to be huge to get a lot more crits out of the skill. Now, Cinder Strike is something that we may switch out for Multi-Strike later. Multishot may be something that we want to spec into quickly. We might wait till we get to level 34. We'll see how our damage feels when we get to that point. For passives, we have 5 more points. We're going to go ahead and put the 4 points in Sapping Strikes to max it out. And then I'm going to go ahead and put 1 more point into the Dodge Rating and Glancing Blow, Dodge and Parry. And we'll continue to put points there until we unlock the Marksman, and then we'll start putting points into it. If you want, you can save your points at this point just so that you can get multi-shot the moment that you can, as soon as we make it to the end of time and do the class quest. Alright, let's go ahead and get some more leveling in. Alright, we're now level 24. We just did our mastery quest. We are officially now a marksman. It's unlocked. We're going to go ahead and put the 5 points that we've accumulated into the marksman tree so that we can unlock multi-shot, and then we can see if we want to trade out anything to start working with it, or if we wait till we hit level 34. So we got the option of some bow attack speed with health gained, or we have dex and dodge, or we have bow physical damage with critical strike chance, and this is by far the best one if you're going for a fully offensive build. So we're going to go ahead and throw 5 points in Assassin's Quiver. And then for our skills, now at this point we could get out of shift and still use it and just not be spec'd, and it would allow us to do more damage. We're not really using the Jade Arrows too much. It doesn't use it except for the initial attack with a channeled skill. So since we're going channeled with Flurry, it would actually make sense to just unspec from shift at the moment and spec into multi-shot and get some extra damage with it. So we get 3 points right off the bat with it. And what we're going to try and work towards first thing is we can either go for extra arrows. We can get more damage against slowed targets. You have your chance to slow. We can get the attack speed, even though the attack speed won't be affected because we're proccing it out of Flurry. But what you can do is every 8 attacks with multi-shot is a double shot, and you can actually reduce this down to 4. So that means that every time multi-shot goes off 4 times, you'll get a double shot out of it, which is really nice. It means you're basically getting 25% more attacks out of it, so you're getting 25% more procs technically out of Flurry when you use it, and that's definitely going to be something we go into. But the first thing we're going to do is we definitely want the extra arrows. The mana cost doesn't even matter because when we proc it, it's free out of Flurry. We're already paying a channeled cost, so we're going to work towards that first, and we're definitely going to go for the more damage against slow targets because that 60% more, 40% that you'll get before you get to the large quiver is just a huge amount. So we're going to go for more damage and pinning shots. For Cinder Strike, we're going to go ahead and put the 4 points that we gained into Inferno just to get that huge damage, especially doubled for the first attack, which is the AoE hit, so we'll be able to clear big packs of mobs with that. And then for Flurry, we have 1 more point. We're going to go ahead and put it into the critical strike chance, and that is base crit. Alright, we're going to go ahead and keep leveling. Alright, we are now level 28, and it's time to put some more points in our skills. We have 2 more points for Flurry. We're going to go ahead and put both of those inside the critical strike chance. Inside of multi-shot, we're going to go ahead and put the 2 points in large quivers so that we can go ahead and get those extra arrows. We're also going to get the more hit damage against slow targets, and then 1 point so that there is a slow chance on hit, just so that we can try and take advantage of that. Within a few shots you should be doing 60% more damage, so this is really going to help against the bosses in the campaign. And then for Cinder Strike, we're going to go ahead and put 2 points in Incinerate for the added fire damage. This will give you additional base fire damage for each ignited enemy that you have hit recently, up to a maximum, so you can get 3 times what the base fire damage is. So as long as you hit 3 different enemies that are ignited in the last 4 seconds, you're going to be getting that maximum added damage, which is really nice. For passives, we got 6 more passives. We're going to put all 6 of them into draining arrows for that increased bow attack speed and some additional health when you hit at least 1 enemy. So this is going to be able to give us, once we put the 8 points in there, 40 health every time we hit an enemy with a bow attack, which is absolutely crazy. It means when you channel flurry and you're getting the multi-strike hits, that you're going to be getting a massive amount of damage to each arrow that flings out of that. Alright, let's go ahead and level some more. Alright, we are now level 34. We are about halfway through chapter 6. As you can see, I'm just wearing garbage gear. I still don't have any resistances. We have barely any dodge. We have no armor at all. Our damages are not that high. I mean, we're literally just wearing the level level tier 2 stuff that I normally put in my videos, you know, just a base set of things that help get you to where you need to go. And then we do have on our bow, though, added physical and added fire damage, although they're only tier 3. And then we have a small chance to stun and slow. For the rings, we are wearing a couple of uniques. We have the arbitral circuits on because the illusionary tree that gets summoned with a 10% chance whenever we get hit, it also has a 15-second cooldown. But it really saves our butt a lot of times because it pulls the aggro of the entire screen. Actually, about 3 screens wide, it pulls the aggro. So you can just keep running through the mono. Alright, at level 34, we've now unlocked our 4th specialization slot, and we are going to go with Shift. We got rid of it earlier, but we're going to get back into it. And we're using Cinder Strike a lot along with the Multi-Strike. We can go back into the Jade Arrows, but the first thing that we really want to do with it is we want to get it to where it's free, because we already have enough mana being consumed by our Multi-Strike that we want to get into it. We're also trying to run a bit faster, so we are going to get into the momentum, and because we use Cinder Strike and it actually hits really good damage, we also want to get the more damage with next skill, so that after we shift we can use a Cinder Strike before we go into channeling flurry and get really good damage out of that hit. So we got 5 points, so 3 of them are going to go into velocity, and then 2 of them will go into momentum, and then next we'll do the mana into the invincibility, and then we'll go back to this more damage with next skill. For Cinder Strike, we're just going to go with more fire damage. We're going to go ahead and throw 2 more points in there, and then we're going to go ahead and get into the oil coating on hit. This will increase our fire damage as well, as we'll get more health and mana down towards the bottom once we spec into it. For Multishot, we have 4 points. We've already gotten the slow chance. We also have this on our weapon. We have the maxed out extra damage or more damage to slow targets, and we have the 4 extra projectiles. So now we want to start working towards the double shot. So there's 2 ways to get there. You can go with the mana efficiency, the armor shred, and the attack speed. 2 of 3 of those will not be used at all because you're not actually using the skill itself, or you can just go into the attack speed and build right into it. So we're just going to put 2 points in quick draw, and that'll leave us with 2 points. We're going to put 1 in back to back, and then 1 into repeater bow. Our next point we'll go to repeater bow, and then we'll go elsewhere for more damage. We're going to try and get into the critical multiplier. We're also going to get into the pierce chance. This will really help clear all the trash mobs. And then with flurry, we have 1 point left. We're going to go ahead and get into the incision for the critical strike multiplier. You can also start putting into the damage per second, so the longer that you channel, the more damage you start doing. And you can also fire arrows more frequently, which will blind you, but with multi-shot in here, and it's widespread now that you have the extra projectiles, you can still basically hit everything on the screen, so you don't have to be too worried about missing too much. Although against single target, your arrows will dive off to the side every now and then. For passives, we got 9 more points. We're going to go ahead and max out the draining arrows, so 2 more points in that. Then we're going to put some points into Wound Maker. And you can put some points into Prolonged Demise if you want, just so that you don't take any damage over time. However, we haven't been dying, we haven't had any problems with ailments or having bleed on us. So I'm going to go ahead and put the next 5 points into Wound Maker, just to get us up the tree. And after that, we're going to want this heightened senses for the critical strike multiplier. You also can get some critical strike avoidance, which is really nice. And then after that, We're going to build into the physical damage. You can also put into the health or the bow damage leeches health if you want, but the big one that you really want is this Sniper's Gambit. With just 6 points up here, you can get 30 more bow physical damage. It will increase the damage you take from nearby enemies, but this will also give you a chance to kill things before they get nearby. Alright, let's get back to leveling. Alright, we are now level 40. We are just now starting Chapter 8. You can see we did some crafting. We got our resistances up a little bit. We were struggling a little bit against the ice. It just did a little bit too much damage, but you know, we only got 30% cold damage from the 0 that we had, which was really easy to get. It's just a couple of elemental resist you put in the suffix slot on a couple of pieces. You can see that the dodge is what we really have. We got like 400 more dodge. We just kind of put it on everything, a couple of tiers, and it's definitely helped with our survivability, and now we're flying through. The other thing that's helped is that our skills are starting to really come together, and for our skills, we have 2 more points that we can put in Flurry. We're going to go ahead and take the more damage while channeling, and then we're also going to take the crit multiplier. For Multishot, we're going to take the 3 points in piercing after we finish off the repeater bow. So 1 point there and then 2 points in piercing shots, so that your multi-strike will have a 30% chance, and that's each one of those arrows. So each one of those arrows individually have a 30% chance to fly through a target. So on every shot of multi-strike, some of them are going to pierce and continue on. And then for Cinder Strike, we're going to go ahead and put 1 point in combustible and 1 point in fire eater. And for shift, 1 more point in momentum, and then we're going to go ahead and put 3 points in swift recovery, 1 point in shadow slip to make us invulnerable while shifting, and then we'll continue on the more damage. So we'll put 1 point on velocity and 1 point on head trauma. For passive, we got 9 more points to put in our passive tree. We're going to put 5 of them in heightened senses, so that we have 30% more bow critical strike multiplier along with 30% critical strike avoidance. And then this is where it's your option, where you can kind of do whatever it is that you need to do. So if you are having like a hard time surviving and you need more leech and more health, put your 4 points in Thief's Quiver. If you aren't really struggling and you just want to have some added effects, you have a few options here. You can go Arrow Storm, so that for 3 seconds, every 10 seconds, you'll have some boosted attack speed. You can finish off 1 more point in Heightened Senses, which is what I'm going to do. You can put a few points into Barbed Arrows, which will give you more physical damage and a chance to inflict bleed, or you can do elemental damage, and this works really well with Cinder Strike, which we are using, or with Detonating Arrow, which is lightning. So if you want to use one of those ones, this is always good too. I'm going to go ahead and put the points into the leech and health, just because the other ones don't really help me too much, but we're going to put 3 points in there. We'll put 1 more point in Thief's Quiver, and then we're going to be doing Sniper's Gambit, which is going to be that huge amount of physical damage added. That 6 points just ups your damage a bunch. It's as much damage as your bow has on it at this point. Alright, let's get back to leveling. Alright, we are now level 43. We haven't done anything else with our gear since the last update. For our skills, we're going to put 1 more point in Flurry. It's going to go into heal on crit. We have 1 more point for Multishot. We're going to put that 1 point in the Pierce chance. 1 more point for Cinder Strike, which is going to go in Fire Eater. 2 points in Shift. Both of these points are going to go into the more damage. We're going to put both of them into the one that gives you 15% more per point, although you won't shift as far as you were before. But now that the campaign's over and you're not worried about kind of, you know, speed running through, we're going to go ahead and put those in. For passives, we have 3 more points. We're going to put 1 more point in Thief's Quiver to open up Sniper's Gambit, and then 2 points in there to give us 10 more base bow physical damage. And now we're going to take on Lagan. I'll go ahead and let you guys watch the fight. we are now level 44. We have beaten Lagon. The entire campaign is done. We've also ran one of the monos in the Fall of the Outcast level 55 timeline and completed it. Now, your damage may feel a little bit low, but the main reason for that is, one, you probably haven't upgraded your bow. If you have, you're doing better damage. On top of that, there's going to be some fixes for this build that you really want to look out for, and that's going to be more damage for multi-shot per multi-shot arrow that it has. So you get increased damage with the skill itself every time that it procs from flurry for every arrow that you have, and you have a lot of arrows. Right now we only have a total of 9 arrows, but you can get another 4 of them in the top of the passive, and then there's a unique bow that you can get another 4, and that unique can be gambled for. So if you can get all those together, and then you can get some idols, a chest, and a helm with the affix more multi-shot damage per arrow that multi-shot fires, you'll get yourself 6, 7, 800% increased damage with it, and it goes from doing 500 to 1,000 damage hits to doing 5k crits on mobs, and you can just absolutely fly through monos. It's perfect for endgame, and it scales the entire time that you're finding that, so it scales with you as you get higher level, and it feels really smooth as you scale it that way. Alright, I'm going to go ahead and give you guys gameplay of the mono that I just ran, and then I'm going to give you some gameplay of this build a little bit more finished up after I've played with it a while to show you what it's really capable of. Thank you guys for watching. Go ahead and subscribe if you haven't subscribed. There's going to be lots more videos coming. The Rogue has so many diverse builds, and of course we're going to be updating all of the other builds on the other characters as we get to them. And if you haven't already, feel free to like the video and share it with your friends so they have a nice easy time leveling up a Marksman. Have a good one.